All right, folks, good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome in to the WNBA 365 network here, 24/7, 365, comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball world. Back with you, folks, with still some time to kill before the second round of the 2016 WNBA playoffs. Nonetheless, though, folks, joining tonight for this abbreviated half-an-hour edition of our program by Eric Nimchok from today's Fast Break, joining us as normal from Elmhurst, Illinois, and, of course, Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart joining us up from Los Angeles, and Cal McClure joining you folks here from Studio 171 in San Diego. Eric, KT, Shorty, good to see you guys tonight. How's it going?
Hey.
Hello, everything's going good.
And, of course, folks, like normal, we'll take input from you folks on Facebook, on Twitter, and in our live chat box by hitting us up over on our Facebook page at facebook.com/WNBA365. Or you can also, as normal, chime in on Twitter at WNBA365, at Calimac3, at ShortyMamba24, at Pup1010, or at NimChalkE with the hashtag WNBA365. Or if you are viewing us live tonight, folks, hit up the live chat box in the right corner of your screen. We'll get to your commentary when we have a break in the action. And, of course, folks, you can check out our website, too, which is WNBA365.wix.com/WNBA365. With that, Shorty, Crystal, and Eric, a developing story that I have been monitoring since about 5:30 this morning, thanks in part to both myself, but more so to our man in the chat box, Todd Mintz. Reports coming in to sources close to the network, guys, that there is already and has been some fallout, of course, from Wednesday night's events in Indianapolis before Game 1 of the Mercury and Fever's single elimination round game. Of course, as we already know, guys, the Fever and Mercury electing to take a knee during the national anthem. Some pretty big fallout, folks, in regards to this issue from some sources close to the network with ties to the Fever and also ties as well to our network of sources and correspondents. Reports coming in that the Fever have already received almost 35 complaints regarding the knee taken by both the Fever and, of course, the two players from the Mercury, which also the complaints are coming from 35 Fever season ticket holders who have now threatened to not renew their renew their season seats for next season, which also included a walkout, guys, by about a third of the crowd of what was there, though, in Indianapolis last night, of course, with the 3 o'clock Pacific time start, 6 o'clock Eastern time, not helping everybody. So some fallout with that, of course, guys, as well. The Pacers ownership group having to release a statement about the protest. Of course, Stephanie White voiced her opinion, too, after the game was over. Plenty of pictures shared, of course, by a lot of the media folks, too. But again, to reiterate once more, folks, already 35 complaints sent into the Pacers ownership group, who owns both the Pacers and the Fever, in regards to last night's national anthem snafu with both teams electing to take knees, with those 35 people who are also Fever ticket holders threatening to suspend their accounts with the team, which also resulted in a walkout of about 1/3 of the crowd at the field house last night. So, Shorty, we knew we were going to have fallout too of this, and we've already seen the Fever release a statement. Marissa Coleman even penned a very well put out message and letter on the Fever's website. The Pacers, of course, putting out a statement. Plenty of the players that were involved in last night's game also voicing their opinions on this issue. Shorty, what do you have to say, I guess, about this new complaint, about this new story coming to fruition, again, with some of the fans as well voicing their opinions, too, on what did go down in Indianapolis last night?
I think, it's overall coming from a place of ignorance, and those so-called fans not knowing what, the protest is really about. Because, what they're doing, is just taking a stand, making a stand. And anytime anyone, takes a stand, they're not being anti-cop. And that's where the ignorance comes in. Taking a stand, trying to, show support for, any of the victims, and calling out accountability for, the police isn't being anti-cop. And it's not a surprise coming from an area like Indianapolis, who is very conservative base, so those people around, those areas have those ideas. But hopefully, in some way or somehow, those fans can educate themselves on what the players are doing. And once they get educated, then, they will see, what the value in which the protest, is happening, on behalf of their players.
So, Crystal, I went back and did a little research last night. You were correct. It was the 2 U.S. track athletes at the 64 Olympic Games with the fists in the air, not the boxers, as I originally thought. But again, Crystal, reiterating once more, 35 complaints sent to the Fever organization, plus the Pacers ownership group, too, of course, who owns both franchises, in regards to, again, their thoughts on their take on this issue again. So 35 complaints. They've all, of course, threatened to not renew their Fever season seats for next season. And also, according to sources, too, this stance taken by both teams resulted in a third of the crowd of what was already in the building at Bankers Life Fieldhouse walking out of the venue for the time being. So I guess, Crystal, we knew that there was going to be something coming up, though. And again, we've already had Marissa Coleman write a very well-put letter. We've already had the Pacers release a statement, too, about their stance on the issue. And it's kind of ballooned out of control, much like it has, though, with other people in place. Crystal, overall thoughts, though, I guess, on the new repercussion being surfaced here again with some of the fans walking out and also threatening to not renew season seats for next summer up there in Indianapolis.
I mean, kind of going off what Shorty said, I'm not surprised. It is Indianapolis. I mean, they're kind of I don't want to say backwards because that sounds wrong, but a lot of their viewpoints are, let's say, stuck in the past, if you want to be nice about it.
Conservative.
Yeah, conservative. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. I will say this. Both of my parents were in the Army, and I don't feel like anything that they did was wrong. I think people are getting it mixed up. I think people are like, oh, well, this is for the military. This means this, and this means that. And it doesn't. I mean, you have to think about it this way. The military fought for this country so they can take a knee, so they have the right to protest, so they have the right to speak out about what's going wrong in the world. And I honestly don't think that they did anything wrong. My parents wouldn't think that they did anything wrong. My parents would actually be proud that they're taking a stand to actually use the freedom that they fought for in the military, and to sit there and use their freedom of speech, use their freedom and the right to protest. I'm not surprised at all. There's always going to be people upset about things. People want to pick and choose what they think is right, what they think is wrong, and I mean, it's just people. There's always going to be somebody mad. You can't make everybody happy. You can't make everybody agree with you. And you know what? That's okay. Renew the season tickets? Don't. I mean, there's not really anything you can say about it. If you're not happy, you're not happy. But this is not going to be the last time you see this. This is going to probably go throughout a lot of sports, especially this year. And it kind of just proves people a point. They don't want to. They rather keep these people quiet, but they're using their platform for something bigger, like Coleman said. And I mean, I don't think they did anything wrong.
So again, Eric, I don't mean to put you on the spot here with a two-part question, but first, I want to get your thoughts, though, about seeing this happen. Of course, we missed out on you last night, Sally. But first, before we get to the second part of this, Eric, overall thoughts, though, about this happening. As I pretty much said last night in a nutshell, again, Eric, here it was Michael Bennett from the Seattle Seahawks who really had praised the WNBA players as being really the driving force or the driving voices behind speaking out against, either the police brutality or the social injustice. And also we've also seen Carmelo Anthony of the New York Knicks also bashing the WNBA for their mistreatment, too, of the players when they did wear the Black Lives Matter T-shirts or even the Dallas police officers T-shirts. Eric, first part of this question, overall thoughts, I guess, on your stance or your overall take on seeing both the Fever as a whole team and two players on the Mercury, again, taking the knee during the anthem last night before the elimination game was played.
My overall take on them taking a knee, I'd say it takes a lot of courage for them to do as a team, and I'm really proud of them for, I don't want to say standing up because that's not what they did, literally, but just expressing their opinion, using their platform, as you said, to use their voice to express their displeasure with how things are going. They have every right in the world to do that, so why not do it? It's not. It just doesn't seem like that big of a deal to me how people are getting all angry about it. But like Crystal said, people find things to get angry about. So it's none of my business.
And Eric, will stay with you for the second part. So again, some complaints already sent to the Fever and Pacers ownership group, of course, who operate both teams over the course of winter and the summer. They are, of course, threatening to revoke their season ticket renewal for next season, and also, again, a partial walkout to put on by the fans that was already inside of a pretty still empty field house last night, again, with that really early 6 o'clock start time for that matchup. Eric, any final thoughts on this news story servicing too in regards to last night's game?
Yeah, you guys elected Mike Pence as governor, okay? I don't want to hear it.
Simple and easy as that. But again, folks, some new developments too from this story once more. But again, 35 fans have already have filed complaints or have complained to both the Fever and Pacers ownership groups too for the stances taken by both the team and the two players on Phoenix last night in the game, with also threats to revoke their season seat offerings, and again, staging a walkout too with a third of the crowd too, again, leaving the game last night due to this going on. And Shorty, before we do move away from this topic again, now I know that we are still 2 days away from the next game of the next games of the postseason. Shorty, I think we talked about this still off air, but Shorty, do you agree or disagree that we will see more and more of this going on throughout the entire postseason, specifically Tina Charles and the New York Liberty on Saturday, starting with them?
Oh, most definitely. We'll be seeing, more players taking a stance, especially I wouldn't be surprised, too, if the entire New York Liberty team, kneeled, down because, as I said, off air, Tina he said, players, were coming together to see how they were going to continue on protesting, throughout the, regular season and playoffs. Of course, they really didn't do much in regards to the second half, but playoffs, Indiana and, two players on the Phoenix roster set the tone. So it's definitely going to continue.
Crystal, do you agree or disagree with this, with the kneeling during the national anthem continuing on throughout the remainder of the postseason and maybe overlapping to future sports such as the NHL or maybe even the NBA?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, especially in the NBA when Adam Silver already pretty much wrote that letter saying that they support whatever, these players decide to do in protest. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they're using their platform for good, I believe, so I would expect to see it.
And Eric, what do you think? Agree or disagree that we will start seeing more and more of this going on throughout the entire part of our postseason in the W, and perhaps as well maybe at the college level with either college football games, college basketball, maybe the NBA, maybe the NHL? What do you think, though, and why?
Definitely agree that we'll see it in the WNBA, especially with the Liberty, because they were one of the teams that was at the center of the whole Black Lives Matter issue, we'll call it, a month or two ago. Not so sure if we'll see it carry over to college or the NHL quite yet, because I don't think that's the same demographic, but maybe the NFL we'd have to see. Yeah,
we'll go into the chat box quick, guys. Christy Wilson, to give us her thoughts, she just said, a little bit stunned by what the Fever did with taking the knee. She also says she guesses Colin Kaepernick's protest is having a much bigger impact than she initially thought it would, and it has gained some steam, of course. But we'll leave that issue, folks, in the dust right now. But again, just to put a wrap on it. But again, folks, some complaints already sent to the Fever and the Pacers about the actions of both the team and the Mercury last night prior to their playoff game, with some fans, again, considering revoking their season tickets for next season. And also there was a walkout, too, by about a third of the crowd that was already inside the arena prior to the game when this issue did arise. And I guess, Shorty, maybe to put one more cherry on top of this, I guess, was about Marissa Coleman, again, who really expressed herself in a very positive, very, very good way, though, in regards to her thoughts and putting like her final say on the topic with a very good letter put out on the Fever's website. Shorty, overall thoughts, I guess, about Coleman further adding on to the conversation about this, about the social injustice that we are still sadly facing in 2016.
Yeah, to quickly give quick cliff notes on, what she wrote, it's basically, wrapped up in what, we've all been talking about, for the past few minutes. I mean, she talked about, her reasoning for her and, the Fever team kneeling, and taking a stance. And also she said, she has, family and law enforcement and things like that. She's a daughter of a retired, police officer. So she was overall saying, it's not coming from a place of hate, it's coming from, a place of understanding. And also she said when the team went out to dinner after the game, yesterday, a woman came up to them one of the Fever fans and asked them, what were the reasoning for, doing that. And then once some of the team members explained to her, she said that she, understood what they were doing and walked away. So she's saying that, just more people need to be educated on this topic. And once, they're educated and, continuously having conversations, then more people will get it.
Crystal, what's your cliff notes or final thoughts, again, on Marissa Coleman? Again, in a very positive, very good, professional manner, again, putting out a nice little letter, again, on the Fever website about the reasoning behind the team taking their stand last night before their playoff game. And what are your final thoughts and why?
I applaud her. I mean, that was brave for her to do. And I've always, liked Marissa Coleman, but I respect her a lot more now for doing something like that and standing up for that. And I mean, like Eric said earlier in the show, that takes bravery and courage. And you have to have, the biggest cojones in the world. Look at Kaepernick. You have people threatening to kill him for something, which is a point he's proving, for trying to, pretty much talk about the social injustices. So for those people to walk out, they're just proving more points that, which is the reasons why people are protesting. And I applaud her. I mean, that was big of her, and I understood everything she was saying.
Yeah, Eric, Christy Wilson has said in the chat box, bravo to Marissa Coleman for writing that letter again. Did it, Eric, like I said, in a very professional manner, but did speak her mind, though, in regards to why this is such an important deal to not just her, but to the entire league and even as well across the NFL and with other professional sports. Eric, overall thoughts from your take and your side of the story about Coleman's letter, a pin to the Fever fans put out on their site today in regards to her thoughts about the stance taken by her team and by two players on the Mercury prior to their game last night at the Fieldhouse.
I mean, in a perfect world, she wouldn't even have to explain herself. But, here's the thing. It's not – the anthem is not mutually exclusive, okay? Just because you're kneeling during the anthem doesn't mean you don't support the troops, okay? You can support the troops and still draw attention to social injustice. It's not one or the other, okay? It's not black versus white, figuratively speaking. And I think Marissa Coleman, what she did was really good because clearly a lot of people still don't know and probably still won't know what they knelt for, what other athletes are speaking out for. People still don't know what Black Lives Matter really is, what the point of it is. People don't know why there are protests in the streets. They see what's on the news and they draw their own conclusions, which is fine. We have the right to do that. But props to Marissa Coleman for trying to inform the people and explaining her team and her reasoning for doing so. Like I said, she shouldn't have to do it, but I think it's good that she did.
So again, folks, to put a final wrap on that once more, again, Marissa Coleman on the Fever's website. You can go and check out Marissa's letter written to the fans about the reason behind their anthem stance. Last night, again, where her entire team plus two members of the Mercury, again, elected to take knees during the national anthems playing last night. All right, guys, we'll put that aside officially now at this point. We'll move on now to, again, kind of recapping and getting you set again, folks, for Saturday's games. Again, no games tomorrow, back to work on Saturday. In round 2, single elimination matchups, Mercury and Liberty on Saturday, followed by the Dream and Sky on Sunday morning over here in the Pacific time zone. So, Shorty, I know that we already kind of made our picks a little bit, but we'll wait till tomorrow's show to make our picks for the games. But Shorty, give us your thoughts though on both games. Again, probably none of us, of course, seeing Phoenix getting in there. None of us probably seeing Atlanta getting in there, of course, with those teams winning the first round matchup. So, Shorty, give us your overall thoughts and some mini preview about both games coming up over the weekend.
Just overall, when it comes to New York and Phoenix, I think I saw Shavonte Zealous, if I'm not mistaken, practicing with the team. So, again, if they can get, at least one or two of those players that were, injured previously, Zealous, Stokes, or maybe Wright, at least get one or two of those players to help bolster the bench, then I can see it being a really competitive game. But without those two, New York is going to be in somewhat of a funk. You're going to have Tina Charles, overworking hard and needing Sugar Rogers to also chip in. But, if they don't get, the other production from the players that they need to, my choice is Phoenix, to take that game. And also the next game, I mean, I have, the Dream winning, because even though the Sky did win, some crucial games, in the regular season without EDD, time will tell if EDD, her absence, and will it really be a factor, in this series. So I'm not sure the Sky can pull this off without EDD, and what McCautry having an amazing game last year. I'm just riding with the Dream in that matchup.
So again, Crystal, none of us really picking or favoring Phoenix, of course. 9 times out of 10, that number 8 or that last seed in a tournament is normally, of course, an underdog that no one, of course, gives the time of day of, but they went out there and, of course, beat Indiana. Atlanta had, somewhat of home court, of course, playing that game, of course, at Georgia Tech yesterday. So, Crystal, I guess give us your overall thoughts on both games. Again, Merck and Liberty, and also the Dream and Sky as well, coming up Saturday and Sunday.
I'm expecting that Mercury-Liberty game to be really close. Like Shorty said, Shavonte Zealous was spotted practicing with them. I'm thinking, for New York, at this time to get her back, that's huge. They want to take the lid off of Tina Charles. Hopefully this, I would say, week rest, if you will, if you want to call it a week. Hopefully she'll be recharged, because they're going to really need her tomorrow. If this is a time where they needed to hop on Tina Charles's back, this is the time now. I mean, we've experienced Tina Charles going through burnout. We kind of saw her doing it a little bit towards the end of the season. Hopefully for them, she's rested and she could pick it up. They're going to really rely on her. Hold on. Don't tell me. Kia Stokes. I got it. Finally. They're going to rely on her, Kia Stokes, and Sugar Rogers to get the job done. And I think they can. I think they have more dominant posts than Phoenix does. But, Brittany Griner has that length. She has that size. And, yeah, she hasn't really been playing that well, this season. But there's something that happens in postseasons. We can kick it into another gear. And as far as Atlanta and Chicago goes, I'm not sure if Chicago – sorry, Eric. I know this is heartbreaking, but I'm not sure if Chicago can really get that far without EDD. I mean, EDD has pretty much been their heartbeat for them this season. And losing her to that thumb injury was pretty hard.
Well, Crystal, I just did some quick math. It only took you 410 games to get Kia Stokes' name right for the entire season. Congratulations to you on that one. So again, Eric, Phoenix, New York, Atlanta, Chicago, the next 4 teams still standing for the second round at least. Again, win or go home, survive and advance, basically, as we would say during tournament time. Eric, overall thoughts that you have on both games, again, the Merck and Liberty. Also, I should say as well, Eric, the Mercury will play the Liberty for the first time in the postseason since 1997 in the league semifinals in that inaugural year. And, of course, Atlanta playing Chicago. What do you got for us?
Well, I think heading into this game, Phoenix would have a pretty big advantage because they've got the momentum, and I think they've kind of figuring things out on the defensive end. And New York has been kind of suffering in their depth department, but they're going to get Zealous back. They're probably going to get Kia Stokes back as well, which is going to be huge for them defensively. I think I think that game will be pretty close. Still not sure if they have the defense on the perimeter if Tanisha Wright is out to contain all of Diana Taurasi, Penny Taylor, and DeWanna Bonner, but we shall see. Tina Charles always plays really well against Brittany Griner, so that's something to look out for. Mm-hmm. And then in Atlanta versus Chicago, I don't know. I think we saw Angel McCarthy put on an amazing performance the other night against Seattle.
In Fuego.
Yeah, without Tiffany Hayes. But here's something to consider. With Hayes back, how much of that usage is going to her from McCarthy, basically? Like, is Angel going to have the ball in her hands as much? Probably, but, she's probably not going to be taking that many shots. Chicago's got some pretty solid perimeter defenders, so we will see what happens there. I think I like the Mercury and the Sky in these games.
By the way, in regards to everyone picking against Chicago, Christy Wilson wrote in to say, poor Eric, LOL. One quick comment as well. One quick comment from Eric's good buddy, Steve Rice, Women's Basketball Daily. Eric, you wanted to chime in and also say, don't forget about Bria Holmes as well for Atlanta in this matchup as well.
She's come on really strong. She's really good.
She had a great monster game for the Dream as well in their elimination game on Wednesday. But again, folks, Mercury and Liberty, first time in the postseason for those two teams since 97 in the league semifinals. 8 versus 3, Dream and Sky 6 versus 4. Winners of those games reseeded will play Minnesota and or Los Angeles. If Phoenix is to win this game, it will be 1 versus 8. They would go and play Minnesota. Anyone below Phoenix in regards to New York, Chicago, or Atlanta could end up playing Los Angeles with that 2 spot depending on who is left. But again, if Phoenix is to win, it would be the Mercury taking on the Lynx, 1 versus 8 with the new format again being reseeded. So Eric, we want to go to you because of course I think we missed out with you, Thomas. But again, we ran 2 poll questions last night. But again, we are sort of asking though if you were in favor, thumbs up, or not in favor, thumbs down on seeing the single elimination format work for the first time. Again, this is sort of a dry run for a potential new NBA playoff format coming in the future. Eric, after last night, what's your overall thoughts and why on the new format?
I don't think last night really changed anything for me because it's about the process rather than the result. We did see it's more of an anything can happen sort of thing. So, we saw Atlanta versus Seattle. Hayes getting suspended, which was totally her fault, by the way. I'm not knocking the WNBA for that. Rules should be enforced like that. But that was a game where it was all set up for Seattle. I think many people expected Seattle to come away with that one. But, what happens is to make or miss league. Seattle couldn't make a shot in the third and fourth quarters. Atlanta went out. They dropped 90-plus on them. So, and that was the game. That was the series. So I think that adds a little more excitement to it, which I'm all in favor for. It's probably pretty bitter as a fan if your team only gets one game and then they get eliminated. But them's the rules. I'm not really sure if – I think a big problem was a lot of people were unhappy with the TV coverage, how the games were on ESPN News. And I think this this Saturday it's only going to be on NBA TV. The one game playoff format was supposed to guarantee that each of these games gets a spot on ESPN or ESPN2. That didn't happen. So that did not in that regard, the new playoff format failed. Not sure if that's going to change next season or not, but it's probably not the WNBA's call. Whatever. I think I still really like the idea of doing away with the seeds. I think that's a good part. So I'm kind of on the fence about this still because I like that. I'm iffy on the single game elimination, and I definitely don't like the top 2 seeds getting a double bye into a multiple game series because I just think that's like they already got the best league in the record. They're the Lynx and the Sparks, the 2 best teams. There's no denying that. So now you're giving them a week and a half off of rest as well, heading to playoffs. I don't really like that. But again, we'll see how it goes. So I'm still kind of on the fence about it.
And just to back you up to Saturday's game will be on NBA TV. Sunday's game, 10 a.m. Pacific time, in the middle of the NFL Sunday on ESPN2. Yeah. And also the games on Wednesday, of course, folks, were moved to ESPN News on Wednesday due to both Major League Baseball's coverage on ESPN and the World Cup of Hockey going on in Toronto on ESPN2 as to why the game was moved or why the games were held on ESPN News last night. And I guess, Shorty, I know that we already had touched base on this already, but, hearing more from Eric in regards to, again, of how the format was supposed to guarantee games on ESPN or ESPN2, and already that was a failure already with ESPN still shuffling around Major League Baseball games and also the World Cup of Hockey. So, Shorty, now for the weekend, we get NBA TV and then ESPN News. But the only problem, ESPN2, I should say, but of course, Shorty, the problem with this, though, with both these games is they're in the middle of both college football Saturday and then the NFL on Sunday. So, of course, that does not help either. So, Shorty, I know that this is probably tough, but maybe this may be a better rebound perhaps for the WNBA in regards that both games are now going to be viewed on either NBA TV or ESPN2. But I guess overall thoughts, though, on the TV scheduling for this weekend, at least with the next round.
Yeah, I think we touched on it last show, and I pretty much said, I wasn't a fan of it because, again, it's treating the league, sadly, like a second, third class in the sports world, and for them to not be on at least get somewhat of primetime coverage. Well, not necessarily primetime coverage, but at least on a better network, it just doesn't do any WNBA at all. ESPN bought the rights, to the Dexter games, and it's not doing He's in ESPN2, if anything, or at most ESPN3, even though it's pretty much equivalent to ESPN News, but still, just to be on the network of ESPN News, I mean, it's it's like the games are being put on a back burner for any other events that's on. They would put the playoffs on the back burner for a poker game or a darts competition or whatever the case may be. So I just don't like the scheduling overall, and I'm pretty sure most WNBA fans are annoyed with it. But again, it's a case of what can we do?
Well, Shorty, we don't have to worry about darts because they're shown on FS1 and FS2 now, so you don't have to worry about darts being shown on ESPN. But again, Crystal, here the WNBA is able to save itself for at least 2 games on TV. But again, they put them, though, at either a 10 o'clock morning start for us West Coasters on Sunday or sometime in the middle of the full college football slate of games on Saturday on NBA TV. And Christy Wilson is starting to say she doesn't get NBA TV, so she's out of luck to miss the Saturday game more than likely. So, Crystal, overall thoughts at this point about the WNBA saving itself on TV, but again, it's stuck in the middle, though, of still both football season with both the NFL and college, and along as well with still Major League Baseball pennant races going on as well.
It kind of does suck. The WNBA, I said it last time, they get treated like side pieces. They don't, no Instagram pictures, no Facebook pictures. They don't really want to, it's like, they're there, but they really don't want to acknowledge it. And I mean, I guess it's a little better this time that they're on NBA TV, but like you said, it's on college football Saturday. But at the same time, if you're a fan of WNBA, you go watch. It does suck that they are competing with sport that's very high rated in football. But like I said, if you're a fan, you'll find a way to watch. It's sadly, like Christian Wilson said, a lot of people don't have NBA TV, or in my case, I had to scramble to figure out what channel was ESPN News. But I don't know. Like Eric said, their sole purpose was to get each game on ESPN, but they failed miserably. It's kind of like it was an afterthought. Like, oh yeah, by the way, we're not going to put them on this ESPN channel. We're going to put them on this one. But I don't know. Hopefully it gets better throughout the playoffs. That's what I'm hoping for. So we'll have to see. And like Shorty said, we can't really do anything about it.
Eric, to backtrack and clean up on ILC-MAC real quick at this point, Steve Rice wanted to say that Saturday is going to be an NBA TV and or ESPN3. For those of you that do have ESPN3, broadcast Sunday will be on ESPN2 only. So, Christy, you'll be safe at this point, it looks like, with ESPN3 for this. But again, Eric, it's kind of like, the old anecdote of someone closing the sliding glass door behind you, and you're walking up the stairs and you smack right into that smack right into the glass door. With kind of like how we've been treated already with the WNBA again. Promised ESPN coverage of the playoffs, but yet sent to ESPN News or right in the middle of the college football or NFL Sunday games. Because frankly, guys, I'll be honest with you, on Sunday, as soon as I wake up and watch the first game between the 10 o'clock game, then after that, I got to watch the Chargers play at 1:25 in the afternoon. And then Saturday, I'm in the middle of announcing soccer games. Then I'm going to come home and want to watch college football. So I'm going to probably end up missing the New York game because of all the coverage going on with all the college football games. But I guess, Eric, it was a minor rebound. But again, Eric, still, though, too many other things on the bigger pedestal and bigger stage. Of course, putting the WNBA on the back burner. Again, either NBA TV / ESPN3 for Saturday. And again, ESPN2 on Sunday, great. But right at the start time of all the 10 o'clock morning NFL football games on Sunday. Eric, overall thoughts, I guess, or final opinion that you have, though, about a minor rebound. But again, still not good enough for the WNBA's television future, perhaps, on TV for the postseason.
Same old story. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. We've been complaining since the beginning of time about how they don't get the right TV coverage. And here they actually tried to set up the playoff format so they could get better TV coverage, but that didn't work either. So I don't know what else they can do.
Yeah, well, we do have one question, though, guys, and we're going to get to our survey, then get out for the night, though, folks, quickly. But a quick question posed by Steve Rice from Women's Basketball Daily. He's asking or saying, and we'll throw us out to everybody. Sure, we start with you, Steve. Steve Rice says it's an Olympic year. What's the alternative, I guess, in your mind for perhaps television coverage in your mind during a year like this, I guess?
Well, That is a good question because we do have to be reminded that it is an Olympic year. So because the WNBA ends at a later date, they're going to be in competition and direct competition with other sports league that are currently on. But it is again an interesting question because I would like to see how this same playoff format would run in a non-Olympic year where the season will be shorter. So hopefully they won't have to compete with any other leagues in a normal year for the WNBA, and we'll definitely see how that plays out. And hopefully, it plays out much better than it is now in an Olympic year.
So again, Crystal, Steve Rice's question posing to the panel again was 2016 was an Olympic year. What's the best alternative, I guess, for maybe the future in your mind about television deals in place?
I mean, I think that did have a lot to do with it, but at the same time, I don't know if it would have changed much. I mean, they even, prior to Olympic years, they still kind of treat the WNBA kind of like an afterthought. I mean, I guess the only thing we could think of is probably signing them onto more sports networks and other than just ESPN. But I mean, I really don't know. I mean, yeah, it was Olympic year, but I don't know if that would have changed much of anything. You probably still would have been complaining about we can't watch this team play here, we can't watch this team play on this station. So I'm not sure if it really makes a huge difference.
So, Eric, what's your thoughts about Steve's question? Again, he said it's an Olympic year. What's the alternative, I guess, in your mind, perhaps, for maybe the future?
Oh, that's tough. I think you may just have to bite the bullet and go with the online streaming for ESPN3, which I'm not sure. Does anybody, for those who are still watching right now, I know it's late, but do you actually get ESPN3? Can you log into that? Because
Christy Wilson, Eric, says that she thinks she gets it. So she says she thinks she gets ESPN3.
That's the problem with that is people aren't really sure if they're able to use that or not. But with that, you won't have any with online streaming stuff, which is where television is the direction television is headed. And we saw it with NBC's coverage of the Olympics. But it's not ideal. But I think in an Olympic year, you got to open yourself up to other options like that. I don't know. I'm not a marketing expert. I'm not a TV kind of person, so I'm not sure. But I think that would be the first thing I'd think of.
All right, guys, one more question. We'll go around the perimeter. So we already had Christy ask about Fox Sports 1 on the last show. Shorty, how about NBC perhaps? Maybe NBC or NBCSN perhaps in your mind being a future network TV provider for the WNBA perhaps in the future?
I definitely think it's an idea due to their, coverage and partnership with the Olympics, but I wouldn't be sure, neither would I hold my breath because I think the marketing chief for, NBC SN, said some questionable things, during the Olympics in regards to, coverage and, in his words, what women wanted to see. And he said, women wanted to see storylines and drama and things like that. Basically just putting, the women's competition in sports as some kind of, basically just some kind of like drama or soap opera or some kind of thing, and that's not really what the WNBA is. So if that's his philosophy on, female sports, then they can really do without a network like that.
Now, Crystal, I'm going to probably refresh everybody's mind that NBC did have a contract in place with the WNBA in the early 90s when the league first came around. Of course, the Liberty and Sparks' first ever game was shown in its entirety on NBC. So again, Crystal, we've talked about ESPN, we talked about Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2. Crystal, what about NBC and or NBCSN and maybe NBC Universal perhaps in the future as a TV provider perhaps in the league in your mind?
I mean, I don't know if that worked. I mean, kind of like Shorty just said. I mean, you have to remember the league was also showed on Lifetime, and they thought just because you put on a network for women, it was going to work out. We all saw that took a turn for the worse. So I think ESPN is their best bet. They seem to be doing okay on ESPN, other than the fact that sometimes they don't show their playoff coverage. NBA TV would also be a really good stepping stone. I mean, they pretty much do show their games. I think the only other place you really could do it is NBA TV other than ESPN. I don't think NBC would work. I don't know if that would be a good route to go. So I would either say leave it on ESPN or try to get more games on NBA TV. But other than that, I don't know if that's really a direction that they want to head in.
So again, Eric, off the top of my head, NBC Universal, of course, is NBC, NBCSN, of course, who has deals in place with the NHL and the English Premier League for soccer, along with USA, and also underneath the umbrella, too, is Bravo, also underneath the NBC umbrella. Of course, they showed a lot of the Olympic events. Eric, of course, with their prior track record with the WNBA back in the year in the 97 season, could NBC or Universal be a part, perhaps, of TV coverage maybe in the future? Yes or no? What do you think?
I mean, maybe that'd be cool, but that's a lot of money. NBC Universal, that's big bucks you're paying to put the WNBA on NBC. Like NBA TV, I don't know. How many people actually get that though? See, that's what I'm wondering. And NBC Sports Network, CBS Sports Network, those are all way up in the 600s or whatever. I don't have a good TV package, so I don't know. But I mean, ideally, you want them to be like, what about TNT? You know, they've got a partnership with the NBA. Why not them? Like, it's about how viewable, like how many viewers you can reach, but also the money it would take to put them on that channel, which I'm sure the WNBA is considered. So
one more question. I mean, I wanted to keep it at half an hour, but we got input, guys, and we're just going to keep going as we keep getting great input too. One more question, guys, from Steve Rice. He says, "What network is women's pro soccer on? Do they have the same coverage issues?" Now, Steve, I do recall though, as of right now, only the NWSL championship game and select regular season games are shown in their entirety on FS1. ESPN has shown some women's soccer games in the past. But as well, Steve and everyone else, they have the same exact issues unless it's the women's national team playing. They won't run into many problems. Of course, Fox Sports and FS1 has already had that deal in place with both the men's and women's U.S. national team to show games in their entirety on there as well. And Christy Wilson wanted to write in and say she does get NBCSN, so that's why she wrote in about that option. But again, Steve and Christy, a lot of great questions, and hopefully we can hopefully we got you guys some pretty firm answers about our thoughts on this. Right now, guys, we'll move on now to the survey we asked, the first of a few. Survey says, of course, this evening. Now, we wanted to find a way, I guess, to kind of better sort of engage with our viewers and our followers across Facebook and Twitter, all 120 on Facebook and over 620 over on Twitter and our 102 on Instagram, plus our website traffic. So we threw out 4 options about what we could probably add or do to further better your experience viewing us on the network as opposed to watching us every night here and, you know, sort of try to be professional broadcasters in some people's cases. We gave you the options of a Facebook Live session, Twitter Q&As, a network Snapchat account, or even a behind-the-scenes series, kind of much like what we would see down here on Spectrum Sportsnet now, with the Sparks being on the new version of Time Warner Cable Sportsnet with their Backstage Sparks, a little documentary kind of behind the scenes of what we do, I guess, on a day-to-day basis. 48% of the voters, guys, picked a Twitter Q&A session, much like what our buddy Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press does with the players for about an hour or so with the AP WNBA hashtag. We had 30% pick the behind-the-scenes / backstage documentary series, and we had 22% pick the Facebook Live sessions. Nobody voted for a Snapchat account for the network. So, Shorty, if you probably took part in this random survey, again, you know, I got the idea for Facebook Live because I thought it'd be a good way kind of for me or whoever's hosting to kind of go on for like maybe 5 minutes and just say what's going to be going or happening, what we're going to talk about, more so as a way to kind of keep them involved with what's going to be happening. But again, I thought of 4 pretty good ideas, more so getting it from either Facebook Live or, of course, what we've seen, of course, with our great buddy Doug Feinberg, who runs the AP WNBA hashtag conversation every time with the players. Shorty, out of those 4, I guess, what do you think probably is the best in your mind, or what would you probably like to see happen and why?
I had initially picked the Facebook Live option, but, you know, now that I think about it, I think the Twitter, you know, Q&A would also be another good idea too, you know, to keep the fans, you know, engaged and get them engaged, you know, with us and the network. Definitely, I'm not surprised about the whole Snapchat, you know, thing, because I don't even have a Snapchat, so I'm pretty sure none of our viewers will, you know, be interested in Snapchat either. And then, you know, the last option, of course, that's a no. So between Facebook and the Q&A session, those would definitely be the top 2 choices.
So again, Crystal, there was no right or wrong answer here tonight, or, you know, nothing like that in regards to like trivia or, you know, anything else. It was more of, you know, a general survey amongst, you know, we had 23 voters tonight take part in our poll question. So again, 48%, almost half the votes went to the APWNBA style Twitter Q&A session. Again, votes going to the behind the scenes and the Facebook Live sessions. Crystal, what's your overall thoughts, or which one gets your vote for this for tonight's survey, and why?
I love Twitter troll, so I said Twitter Q&A. But there was a lot of cool options. I thought the behind the scenes thing was cool, but I don't know necessarily how that would get done and how we would do that. So I went with the easier option and went with the Twitter Q&A, because I know there's a lot of nosy folks who want to know so much about us. So that's what I don't know. I'm not cool like that. But yeah, that's what I went with, because I would love for you guys to all go with Shorty's bitches and troll away. So that's why I picked Twitter Q&A.
So again, Eric, general survey, just wanting to kind of get ideas, because I know that I asked for your input on games and storylines across the league, or when we're off air, I get your thoughts on what we could possibly add to the network. And tonight, I wanted to pick the fans' brain, see what they got. So again, almost half the votes for Twitter Q&As. Now that would be one. Behind the scenes, 30%. Facebook Live would be a good one as well. And again, no one touching Snapchat, which I thought was pretty funny, but I guess a pretty good idea as well. But again, Eric, what do you think that would probably be the best option or options in your mind? And also, what would you probably vote for as well?
I think I voted for behind the scenes, actually, but I'm not surprised Twitter Q&A won, because it's simple and straightforward, and everyone likes trolling Crystal, so that's a lot of fun. I think behind the scenes would be fun too, but again, but like Crystal said, I'm not really sure how it would work, because there's some pretty ratchet stuff that goes on here behind the scenes. I'm not sure if we would need to find a way to moderate that, so it wouldn't technically be behind the scenes then. So I don't know, that would kind of defeat the purpose, right? So I think Twitter Q&A is fine.
Everyone in favor of Twitter Q&A. I actually voted, guys, for the Facebook Live more so. I think that could also kind of be a way for us to kind of branch in regards to, we could do a Twitter Q&A one night, and then we could have someone take questions by going live on the Facebook page for the network and taking questions that way as well. More so of a direct conversation, more so than just behind a keyboard or behind the phone. Maybe if anyone here's going to go behind the scenes, it might be me, where I can probably take people into like a day where I'm not sitting here and doing this, but like actually doing what I get paid to do, which is either college sports or pro hockey or pro soccer. So I might work on that for you folks maybe later time and date. But again, thank you guys, though, for voting and taking part in our survey. Again, but tonight, 48% of you folks picked Twitter Q&A, so work on that for the future. We'll also probably work on behind the scenes maybe with me more so than anything else. But we'll try and see if we can get, maybe one day, two out of everyone else. And as well, 22% of the voters picking Facebook Live. We'll try that as well with a direct tie to our Twitter Q&A. And also, guys, a quick comment. Christy Wilson says she likes the Twitter Q&A idea because the APWNBA is a great thing. And it's also great, again, that Doug Feinberg also gave us a shout-out, too, for the graphic I made promoting it for him a couple days ago. With that, though, guys, we'll call it a night right here. We went way past our half-hour threshold. But, again, thanks a lot, though. Namaste to both Christy and Steve for the questions and comments tonight, keeping us on our toes and acting tonight on a pretty light night on coverage tonight, though, folks. I'm glad we were able to give it to you, though, nonetheless. With that in mind, for Eric Nemchuk from today's Fast Break in Elmhurst, Illinois, and for the SoCal tag team of Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart up in Los Angeles, this is Cal McClurg from Studio 171 in San Diego signing off up until tomorrow night to get you further prepared for Saturday's games or for the weekend's games. We'll be back with you folks back here tomorrow night, same time, same place, same bat channel, same bat folks in this hangout. Again, folks, take care. We'll see you back here in mañana. Good night. Bye-bye.